I want to welcome everybody to the regular meeting of the Zoning and Housing Board of Appeals, Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024. Clerk, please call the roll.
Chair Tomato?
Here.
Vice Chair Montesi? Here. Commissioner Allen? Commissioner Plous?
Here.
Commissioner Arruda?
Here.
Commissioner Zinowitz? Here. Commissioner Kendall? Councilmember Murphy? You have your form.
Great. Is there any correspondence?
You have one item of correspondence related to one application.
Okay, we'll go for the approval of the minutes first. Can I get an approval for the minutes from March 27, 2024 and April 24, 2024, please?
So moved. Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Chair Tomato?
Yes.
Vice Chair Montesi?
Yes.
Commissioner Plous?
Yes.
Commissioner Arruda?
Yes.
Commissioner Zinowitz?
Yes.
Okay, so there's one piece of correspondence for the application of 57 River Street. Yeah, can you please read that into the record?
All right. Dear Zoning and Housing Board of Appeals, I am writing to object the above request submitted for 57 River Street. In particular, the proposed structure projects well beyond the front of the existing restaurant building. The proposed structure is also closer to the street than any other building along River Street, thus is inconsistent with the building form and public street sidewalk interface of the neighborhood. The applicant has not demonstrated or explained why the proposed structure cannot be set back further from the street or located elsewhere on the parcel or reduced in size to either negate the need for the variance or minimize the degree of variance. In addition, it is unclear how many required parking spaces will be permanently lost due to the proposed structure. No information has been provided to ascertain whether that loss of parking spaces is equally accommodated in the off-site overflow parking area located across London Avenue. I believe the temporary structure was primarily erected to offset the deleterious effects on business resulting from the impacts of the 2020 to 2021 pandemic, and that the temporary structure's location and size were appropriate and justified at the time to cause the least disruption to the parking layout and quickest and most cost-effective solution during a worldwide crisis. However, on a permanent basis, an approximate 30% increase in the size of the primary structure and an approximate 66% decrease in the required setback have not been justified. Therefore, it appears as currently presented that this request is self-created and its approval would grant a special privilege given no apparent unique hardship as compared to other businesses in the neighborhood. Sincerely, Tambry Hayden.
So we have some new business on the agenda. We have a applicant for 57 River Street. Who's here to represent that? Yeah, you just have to state your name.
Alex Rassis.
Okay, hi Alex. How are you?
Good.
Could you please just explain to us what you'd like to do and why?
I can do that. Basically what
Can you
they,
please state your
oh
name?
yeah, Tom Howard, I'm sorry.
Okay. How are you in relation to this project?
Working with them on the construction aspect.
Okay, thank you. So go ahead and let us know.
Basically what they're trying to do is they have a footprint of a 30 by 30 tent. If you take the ropes that are outside to hold the tent up, you're adding 10 feet both ways. So you got a 40 by 40 footprint. What they're proposing to do is put together a structure with 9 poles, with a slope, one single slope roof, very almost flat, that would take up a footprint of a 30 by 30 footprint, which would go in the same spot as the existing tent. The reason why they want to go with the existing roof system is because of the big storms that's been hitting the area over the last couple of years. They've had the tent for 4 years without any issues. But the storm's been grabbing the tents. They've had to evacuate some people out of the tent back into the restaurant in the middle of meals and stuff like that. So they're trying to get a structure for safety where it's going to be permanent, it's not going to move around. The side panels on it will be just like tent panels. They're going to slide on cables. Just if they need them, they need them. If they don't, they don't. The structure is 8 feet off the ground. It's all white, which will match the facility. The roof is going to be a metal roof system, which kind of corresponds with the existing restaurant, which has corrugated metal. It has rubber, it has shingles, and it has terracotta. It also has an awning. So it has like 6 different types of roofing on the existing facility. Also, the neighbor's house has metal roofing, so I don't see that as being an earth-shattering change. As far as trying to change the size of the footprint of the tent, it doesn't work trying to make it 24 feet by 30 feet with the tables that they have and the arrangement of moving waitresses and people movement within a facility. And if they try to move the tent or move this facility, the facility's gonna be 6 feet off of the sidewalk. There's a green area between the facility, I call it the facility, the structure, I guess I call it the structure. Between the structure and the sidewalk will be a green area. There'll be a rain gutter on the facility, which comes down and empties into the green area. And the reason why they can't shift the building down the side of the building is because the city had also given them a grant, or not a grant, but a permit a couple of years ago to put that new entranceway into the side, which would put this building right into it, so you'd lose your handicap parking and et cetera. I'm not sure if you want to add anything to that.
Well, and you would lose more parking spots if you put it alongside of the way it goes now, which would create more of a parking problem. We haven't lessened any parking positions with the way we have the tent right now. In the wintertime, no one still parks in that front top area. So it's gonna be the same amount whether we have the tent up or the structure up.
Can you just state your name, please?
I'm sorry, Diana Gracias, sorry.
Thank you, Diane.
Yeah.
Right, anything else to say? We're gonna be asking you some questions too, but that's about it.
That's a synopsis,
That's about-
that's on everything.
Okay. I'd like to see if is there anybody in the public that would like to ask any questions? No, okay. Does anybody on the board have any questions? Lori, do you have any questions for the applicant at this time?
Do you realize that the property is in an R2 zone and it is a non-conforming use? It's grandfathered as a non-conforming use in a residential zone? I don't know if you realize that.
Then I wouldn't understand why we would have our permit approved every year to have a tent on there.
It's true.
We file it every year.
Sure.
So the tent permit is different from.
The tent is not a structure.
Okay,
No, I just mean,
Yeah,
the
but-
building itself, you know, the Bella Michaels building is in a residential area and it's grandfathered, and I just wondered if you realized that it was a non-conforming use in a residential zone, a restaurant in a residential.
I know that we were grandfathered in.
Yes,
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 I'm
you're
sorry,
there,
yes,
yes.
I do understand.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
I'm
just,
sorry.
that's my only question.
Yeah.
I think what she's trying to say maybe is that we're granting a variance to we're expanding a non-conforming use is basically what's happening now.
Gotcha.
That's really,
That's the request.
that's,
Yeah.
you're requesting that we expand upon it.
And that would be on lot 59.
That's important to know,
57 is the restaurant,
okay,
and 59 is, I'm calling it the parking lot.
okay.
Which is also non-conforming use.
Yeah.
No, I'm just trying to,
So there's two lots there.
there's 2 lots, correct, it's not one big lot.
Okay,
And they're both grandfathered in.
at this moment, yes, yeah. Okay. Pete, you have something?
I'm just curious, so because it's been years since.
We have this diagram that you gave to us.
Yes, it's been years since the tent hasn't been there, the curb cut, does it cut where the tent currently is? Like, is that a place where there used to be traffic coming
No.
down there? Okay,
The only curb cut is where the existing one-way driveway is.
okay, where it says entry on the back.
Yes.
So there's a sign there that says one way when you pull
Correct.
off of River Street, there's that
Yeah,
sign right there.
And the actual lot, if you wanna go, I mean, the restaurant itself, they're both 55 by 165.
Yeah.
Most of them down River Street kinda go by that
Sure.
measurement.
Yeah.
And it's one-way traffic, so, and you exit out onto London. I believe.
London Avenue.
I have a question. So you just mentioned in your statement, a 40 by 40 is what's existing right now based
Well,
on the
with
stakes?
the ropes.
With the ropes, right? So are you gaining an
Well,
entranceway?
we're gaining more real estate to do whatever, because the building, if we do a structure, is only 30 by 30.
Okay.
And we don't have any ropes coming off the side of that.
And will that drive in remain a one-way?
The drive is staying in one way, and actually, when you pull your car in that driveway, the measurement from the car door to that building will be 10 feet, which is far more than anything in this city.
Say that again, I'm not sure I'm.
Like, if you pull in, clearance is like when you pull in the driveway.
Right.
You know where Bell might be.
Right, no, I.
If you pull in the driveway, if you take from that door like right now, because the ropes come down,
Right,
so the ropes are they're probably 4 or 5 feet away. So right now, when you take a measurement from the car door, because I did it this afternoon, to where the structure's gonna be, it's 10 feet of open
okay.
space, but it's just,
From where you're pulling in, you're saying?
I guess people can walk there, or, you know, pick them up the street, or,
Is that 10 feet, is that gonna be, green, or is it gonna be the hearts,
they're looking to put planters, do a planter scheme like they have.
All right.
I believe they have barrels and, you know, all the flower programs now.
Or temporary stuff for a summer.
Yeah, sure. A couple quick questions. So it doesn't impact any of the parking at all?
No.
It actually could create one, if you really want to, okay. So I'm just looking at this letter, and she mentioned parking. You said you're gonna have gutters on it, and
There's only gutters on the rear, 2 downspout.
where does it shed?
It comes
sheds
down
onto
into the 5-foot green area.
Okay. And there's gonna be green space from the sidewalk to the
Yeah,
pavilion, right?
Correct.
As I read the direction.
Yeah,
Read that correctly?
correct.
And there's a fence there currently, is that
The
fence?
fence is out by the sidewalk.
Right by the side.
Does the fence go away?
Now, the fence is gonna stay and be painted white, so it fits into a community. That also gives privacy from the other neighbors.
And there'll be some green
And from
space
the-
there for the
and
sidewalk.
from-
And there's green space behind the fence to the structure, which will probably have planters on the green space as well.
So it's basically just for the patrons? The green
Correct.
space?
Correct. Yeah, the dogs won't be able to use it.
Lucky you.
Is there any other building on 59? I mean, because really your
No,
request is for 57, but it's really for 59 as I'm understanding it now.
well, because the restaurant is 57.
Right.
You can't get anything else on that spot.
Right. But how about in the parking lot? There's
No, it's
no
wide
other
open.
buildings.
Wide open. Basically 55 by 165, other than the tent, you know, in the front. So basically, they're just getting rid of the tent, putting a structure in, making it more secure, less hazards.
Alex, what was on 59 when you purchased the property?
It was a duplex.
It was a duplex property?
Yeah.
I mean, a duplex house?
House,
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And
That caught on
was
fire.
removed,
Yeah, that
that's
had caught on fire.
And if you could just tell us what happened.
So the house had caught on fire, so we approached them about buying it. Originally, we wanted to gutter renovate and move down there because we lived center city. And then when we had contractors come in, it was gonna be too expensive. So at that point, we got approval to tear it down and turn it into a parking lot.
Okay. Was there a garage on that property, or was it just a duplex?
It was just a
There was
duplex.
no garage, no. It was just a driveway. It wasn't, I mean, it's not the driveway that we got now that goes around. It was just,
It was the break that's on 59 River Street where the break is, that is where the driveway went in, and it was just a duplex.
For both addresses, it was 57 and 59, there was no address on London Avenue. They both went to the
Right.
back.
Correct.
Right.
57 goes straight to 49 London Avenue.
Yeah,
There was a fence between the restaurant and 59. So it was a fence in the back.
Yeah.
So the restaurant goes straight to 49 London Avenue.
Yeah.
And 59 goes straight, I mean, it went along with 50, 57, 59, 57, all the way to the back.
Sure.
And there was nothing around the area. It was a fence in the back from, I mean, it's a shed behind the restaurant. So the fence was along that shed and it was closed, yeah.
Mr. Yurley, Steve, with the fence in the front of the property, is there any requirement on how far back that fence needs to be? So property can go all the way to the sidewalk with a fence there?
Yeah, fences can sit on a property.
Okay,
There's no setback.
front or back or side, that doesn't matter? Okay.
Because on the northwestern side of the property, that neighbor has a chain link fence down through by the park, goes down the edge of the parking lot there.
Right.
I was gonna ask that question, I mean, who owns that fence there?
Hold on, Patrick, yeah.
Sometimes we look for a total landscape plan for what's gonna be done there in specific. You're saying that we don't really see it here other than like it says, I think it says green green area, green space, I think is what you
In
said.
green space, it just be long, it's gonna be long with planters.
Okay. The issue that you know, the issue that we have here is that it's 6 foot. You know, the setback needs to be 20 foot off the road. And, I went up and down River Street today, and, you know, I could see that there was several, properties that, you know, encroached into the setback, you know, about 6 to 8 feet, you know. But that doesn't mean that, you know, we do that into the future, you know, we're looking to have, you know, have a proper setback there. And, you know, you're saying at this moment, I think you said, Diana, that you cannot reduce the size of the footprint of this concrete pad to make it, to push it back. Could you explain that again, exactly what you mean by that, to make it maybe, I guess you would say less deep and wider perhaps, to make the same square footage?
How far do you guys want it from the street, from the
Well,
sidewalk?
the zoning is,
From the sidewalk?
yeah, I think it's 20 feet, isn't it, the setback?
Yeah.
It's 20 feet is what the code requires. And you know, the question could be, could that be placed farther back? And maybe I understand what you're saying about the tables, but could it be wider, let's say, to get you the same amount of square foot?
What is what is the setback of Bell Michaels right now? Like the actual restaurant building? Like, do you know how far from the side?
This says 12 feet.
I don't, because the whole front kind of builds out, I didn't take that measurement.
So I mean,
It's
you say the drawing is
from-
12
From
feet?
the sidewalk to the walkway, is that what you're saying, Peter?
Yeah, that's what that.
I see it
I think
now.
that's the front.
I think if you start sliding the building down the side, you're gonna start causing accidents with traffic. Because now you're moving a structure down into the middle of the parking lot, in the middle of your entranceway, because your entranceway comes in, and as you come in that driveway, you're where the structure, I'm gonna use the word structure or tent, is kinda out of your way, where you're coming in to two sides of parking. You move the structure down, you're gonna lose your handicap parking, which was coming to the front door, or the side, the new entranceway that they put on a couple of years ago. And then you're gonna lose, you lose your handicap parking, then you lose the whole traffic flow and create a cluster.
You know, this isn't my project, you know, we wanna help businesses expand and do the best that we can. We're trying to make this, you know, get the neighborhood, everyone happy from it, you know, and that's what we're trying to do. And I think that, you know, would there be any consideration of removing the entranceway off of River Street and expand across the front there and push it back? Is that potentially a doable thing?
The issue is, a lot of times in the winter time, because of the automatic door for that, we do close that side ramp.
Okay.
So then you're gonna eliminate
Entrance into that?
entrance into the front.
Okay.
And I do worry about going in front of the restaurant, because you're gonna have more traffic from the road. You have the side street that has a school right there with a stop sign right there with people stopping, going. I just feel like it's gonna be loud and,
So if the only entrance was off of London Ave, that wouldn't work for you?
Well, when,
I don't see how it would.
I don't feel, yeah, and
because you gotta turn around, right, the
Yeah,
problem.
I understand.
You got two parks.
It's tight, I get that, I was back there today, I saw that.
If you got two cars, one parked by 51, it was on the side of 51, and one parked against 57, so, I mean, there's no way people can turn around.
Sure.
That's why you come in from River Street, you park, and then you get out and you go out 49 London.
What I was suggesting is to, let's say you pulled what are we calling this, a pavilion, is that what you're calling it? Is it a pavilion?
I'm just calling it a roof system.
yeah, structure.
It's a covered patio.
If it was pulled back 5 foot, let's say, and expanded wider, so it almost met the setback, is there any way in your mind that could be done?
But when you're saying wider, you're saying going like down the
Towards
street?
the one-way side, so towards the one-way.
I don't see how you can pull it out.
The ropes go 10 feet
We're
greater,
10 feet now,
and I'm just, I'm
So you're
suggesting,
saying from the sidewalk come 10 feet instead of 5 feet?
I'm suggesting that we try to pull the pavilion back off of, a little bit farther back and a little bit wider, that's what I'm suggesting.
See, if we come a little bit wider, now we're gonna start bridging on how you wanna landscape the side of the structure. Well, if we're 10 feet now, you're gonna want at least a minimum 5 feet, minimum of some kind of protection before you get to the structure.
That's why I asked you,
Whether it's, whether it's, planters or
Yeah.
barrels like they have now.
that's why I asked if it was gonna be green space, and you said it was gonna be planters, so I see in that
That
respect,
side is
we,
planned.
a planter is 2 to 3 feet wide at max, and I see it almost fitting in there. All I'm trying to do is to, minimize the expansion here,
The setback.
the encroachment, that's what I'm trying
The
to do.
setback.
I think that's what, is that the issue that,
Well,
is that your concern, Mike?
So my concern, and I don't want to cut, but, so it's 6 feet back from the sidewalk, according to this map. The restaurant itself, or the walkway for the restaurant is 12 feet back. So you would only need to push it back 6 more feet to make it flush. And as you said, from the handicap parking spot, there's gonna be 10 feet.
We probably wanna keep it up a little more because where the new sidewalk is, the new entranceway to, that the city gave a permit to put in, but then all of a sudden your building's not covering that entranceway for the handicapped people to get in the building.
Well, but there could be still space to get into the building. It looks like there's a gap in between, like it's not connected to the building, so there would be space to go around.
But if your entry's coming from the side, you're not gonna be able to come in that gap to get in that ramp that comes up to the new entrance.
So the ramp goes, so hold on, this is north, so the ramp, you're telling me the ramp goes west?
Yes, ramp goes there.
The ramp goes west.
Going towards, they hand them into 51, that way, yeah.
So would there be a way?
Kinda where the tent is where the
So
ramp.
if the pavilion came back to be flush with the restaurant, could there be the ramp kind of going level out to the length of the pavilion and then going south to allow for access to the parking lot?
You're talking about the owner of the restaurant, straight flush with the owner of the restaurant.
Yeah, flush with the walkway and
Yeah, coming from London Avenue.
Because it seemed to me, based on what you said about the handicap parking, there's 10 feet, there is room to go back 6 feet to create a flush. Create this flush with the building, and I think that would also kind of address the concerns of the correspondence that we had, which is that it would move forward from where the building already is.
however, I hear what we're trying to do to try to make this work in terms of an area variance. But my concern is also the fact that, this is a non-conforming, their grandfather is a non-conforming use. And my understanding is we're not allowed to expand that non-conforming use. And if we were to make this a permanent structure, we would be expanding that as a permanent structure. So I would like us to also consider that. As we're asking you to make these changes, then comes the issue of, can we expand this non-conforming use? And my understanding is we really can't.
In some respects, I see what you're saying, but this has been a temporary,
I understand, as temporary, it could stand,
sure.
but as permanent, it would be an expansion of non-conforming use.
Steve, what would preclude into the future someone not being able to utilize that tent structure every summer? What would ever preclude somebody to be able to apply for a permit each and every year?
So what we did during COVID was we issued tent permits like this to accommodate restaurants not being able to see people inside.
Sure.
We've subsequently issued permits for tents related to restaurants that are essentially just using big patio space outside the restaurant. Because it's basically, if that tent wasn't there, they could just move tables out and have a patio outside.
Yes.
It's not something that we kind of view tents as like temporary structures. It's not a permanent use, it's not, it's like having a garage sale, basically. But now what you're asking me to do is you're like, I wanna make that a permanent situation. I'm gonna build a permanent structure, it's gonna be finished building. So that's triggering different requirements. I mean, they could theoretically just continue to use it as patio space. And we probably wouldn't, I mean, unless someone threw a big fit and we got sued over it, we probably wouldn't ever enforce on that. Because it's kind of a gray area. But once you're building structures, I mean, now you're talking about, this isn't a patio, this isn't 5 tables outside, this is a structure that's gonna be constructed and permanently there.
Which isn't completely finished. All the sides are open.
And, yeah, that's,
Yeah, I mean, but if we wanna get into technicalities of this, like, you can't use accessory structures as primary uses on the lot. So I could argue that the structure, even on that lot, is a non-conforming or not permitted use.
What would happen if, I'll throw this question to you, what would happen if you did a monolithic slab and bolted it to the top, now it's not a permanent structure?
I mean, you're building something that you intend to use as a primary use on the lot.
I think the intent is there, you know what I mean? I know there's like, you try to find loopholes to this, but the fact is that the intent is to use it as a permanent structure.
For a roof system, but it's not, it's not a parking garage.
Right, so I mean, the way that this was addressed was a series of area variances instead of me saying, well, this is a non-conforming use and this needs a use variance that you'll never meet the criteria for. I mean, the simple answer is, if they did a lot merger right now, if they made that one parcel, it would be a non-conforming use with one non-conforming parcel that they were attempting to expand. Which is kind of how we're looking at it, instead of being like, oh, these are 2 separate parcels, one of which they're trying to establish something that they can't even do in that zone. So the cleanest way to do this was to set it up as an area variance, understanding that really, in reality, this probably would have required a use variance if we looked at it as 2 separate parts. If tomorrow he sold this parcel and someone came in and said, hey, I want to build an accessory use here, the answer would be no. You need a use variance. Unless you're building a single family home, the answer is no, you need a use variance. What we're looking at it as is 2 parcels owned by one person who's using it for one use that is non-conforming. The parking lot is part of the restaurant use. Although it is non-conforming, it's part of the restaurant use. So to make this as theoretically as approachable as possible, we're looking at it as an area variance instead of going through the impossible standard to meet a zoning variance that you would never get, technically. Like, if you were to ask for a use variance, what you would have to address is, was this self-created? Well, yeah, you tore a house down, you built a parking lot. Is there a financial return situation? Well, no, you have a successful restaurant, you're looking to expand it. I mean, there's no way to meet that criteria. Area variances are much easier to grant.
But right now, we're not meeting that area variance.
Well, the area variance,
Unless you can change where this is located.
Say that again, please, Maureen.
In other words, we can't meet the zoning requirements unless they change where this structure would go. It's too close to the roads, it's, it needs.
Well, I was trying to
change, and I know you were, but
I'm trying to get this.
I understand what you're saying we're trying to do, but then if we're really looking at it as one piece in our minds, then we have 2 primary buildings.
well, yeah, so what I'm saying is they could come back next month, they could get a lot line adjustment and make it one parcel. And then we would just be having the same meeting right now.
Right.
We'd be talking about area variances. I mean,
We wouldn't be talking about 2 primary structures on
no,
the
you'd have
same
one lot, they could do a lot line adjustment, make one parcel, and you'd be talking about area variances because it'd be one parcel. It wouldn't be 57, 59, it'd be whatever that parcel became, 57.
Okay.
I mean, we could go through all that, I mean, we could do that exercise, but I don't know if it's
Appropriate.
super useful.
Fred, you have anything?
If the structure was moved back, as Mr. Tomeno was suggesting, how does that impact the flow of traffic coming in the curb cut? It looks like it has to bear a little bit left and then into the center of the parking lot. If that got moved back, would that
It's gonna move, you'll
Impact
lose a spot on the right coming in. You'll have to move your handicap lots, so you're gonna lose lots on the other side.
So, but the handicap spot would just move up, but you'd still
Move down
You
towards-
look like you're losing about 2 or 3
Two
spots.
or 3 spots, probably 2 on the right hand side.
One on the right and one on the left.
Yeah,
As I'm
Probably.
looking at this.
yeah.
Fred, what was your suggestion? Can you say it again, please?
Oh, I was just asking,
If they move their 30 by 30 footprint back, that's what you're saying.
like you had discussed,
Okay.
okay? I'm looking at the flow of the traffic coming in from River Street in the one-way drive.
Yeah.
How it comes up, turns a little bit left, and then goes to the center of the parking lot. So if we move that up, how many parking spaces would we lose? And they're saying that they would lose the handicap spot on the left and possibly 2 spots on the right to make that corner and swoop it. That's all I'm asking.
So then it brings up the idea of changing the shape. You know, could you mitigate some of those issues by making it 34 by 26? You'd have the same square footage, but you know, wouldn't be shooting outward towards the entrance, the driveway entrance.
The only difference you're gonna have is you really can't go by square footage. You have to go by footprint, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, because we have different size tables. There's 6 tables, there's 12 tables, there's 4 tables, there's 2 tables. And if you start going wider, now all of a sudden we gotta add more 2 tables, we might be losing some of the bigger tables.
So that's not an issue for us though.
Right.
Like how you can.
But that's gonna be an issue for them,
Yeah,
because they
but
have
how
a
you
business.
configure the tables within the pavilion is not a zoning.
Oh, I know, but it's a
I'm
business, it's a
trying-
business move, because if they can't, all of a sudden, if they can only seat and take care of 20 instead of 30, that's a loss.
I understand, but I'm trying to find a way to justify putting this within the 20-foot setback. I'm saying, you know, bring it back to the flush with the, in my mind, bring it back flush with the building, 12 feet, which is 8 feet off of the, you know, what the setback should be. Trying to find a way to make it work, I guess.
Let me ask you this, and I'm just speaking out loud. If you move the building back, is there such a thing as a section of exterior open seating? I mean, with no roof over it? I'm speaking out loud. You see what I'm thinking?
I know what you're
Yeah,
saying.
and I don't know the answer to that. You two would know that answer. Like if he pulls it back like he's trying to do, pull it back to the building, and basically we're gonna have room now between, basically you probably can, do we then need green space going by the sidewalk? Because can we just create that patio?
There's no requirement to put green space.
No.
So then you can just make that patio from the building all the way to the sidewalk. And you just have to put,
You're gonna lose it though, with weather permitting, that's where it's
I
going,
know.
and you can't book reservations on weather permitting.
I was just thinking.
So I think what you're saying is you're still utilizing the existing.
I was trying
space
to,
in the
but
front.
that's why I referred to them, because they know their
You're
business.
Can't make
moving it
reservations on
back,
weather
You'll still utilize the front section for seating, but it'll be open air seating.
But like she's saying, how do you make a reservation if the weather's,
Got it.
Yeah, you can't,
that's why I was just,
Okay.
I'm not a restaurant person.
just, you know.
After this meeting.
It's just an idea, I thought
Oh,
maybe
yeah, I just,
I guess at this moment, we can just take care of the seeker part of this. I think I'd like to receive a motion that after review of this application, consultation with the code office, that this is a type 2 action. And it's been determined that this project will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment, because so it doesn't need any additional environmental assessment. You think so? I guess I'll do it.
I'll second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Tomino,
Yes.
Vice Chair Montante,
Yes.
Commissioner Fox,
Yes.
Commissioner Rubin,
Yes.
Commissioner Zandowitz.
Yes.
I think the issue becomes here that we're trying to figure out a way to get this into that particular 30 by 30 footprint. You're saying that that's the size that you need. Is there any consideration that could be had to make it smaller if you can't move it back? You know, I mean, we're looking to push the setback, you
Well,
know.
if we move it back 12 feet from the sidewalk, we're good with that.
12 feet or 10 feet, Tom?
Well, I think this gentleman, I think,
So that just lines it up at the front of the.
I think that's what he was saying, if I understand that. We may have to massage the structure.
Well, we have to be kind of accurate in the way.
Well, no, that's-
We say that. So.
12 feet.
It's here.
It's on the print here.
It is there? Okay.
Yes.
12 foot from the sidewalk to the walkway.
We'll keep the 30,
To the
30,
walkway.
and we're just gonna have to reconfigure the parking lot somehow.
Puts it back, right? Just puts it back.
Spaces, but.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I understand the business considerations too, and how that works, and that creates restrictions, but there are restrictions for us with the zoning setback that we have to address. We can't just, you know, I don't know what the actual terminology changes, you know, but.
Arbitrary, you can make arbitrary determinations.
Yeah.
But I think that way we satisfy what you want, satisfy what you want.
But I think
Well,
an easy explanation would be that the current structure that's been there historically does not meet the 20-foot setback. So it's an easy argument to say that this addition essentially coincides with the existing setbacks that are found and characteristically found in the neighborhood and surrounding structures. If you want to see a great example of not meeting a 20-foot setback, just like drive down Lawn Ave. There's 20-foot setbacks there. It's 4 feet, 6 inches of dirt in the house.
You wanna run us out on the sidewalk?
So do they need to know?
What would you like to see, Lori?
Well, I think we've tried to make some suggestions and they're having some difficulty figuring out how they're gonna do that, so I think we need to see what a new plan would look like.
I think we already settled what the questions were.
We would just reconfigure to
We
lose
just
those
reconfigured
three
what he
spots.
wanted, we just reconfigured just keeping the tent, sliding that down, and removing the parking spots. I think we satisfied everything you asked for.
Steve, can you clarify what you just said? So you're saying that as presented, this could stand?
If it was 12.
What I'm saying is that by so the zoning code says that you have to have a 20-foot setback. Realistically, we know there are many structures in the R2 zone that do not have a 20-foot setback, including the existing structure. By accommodating the application by saying a 12-foot setback, you could grant an area variance to reduce the required setback by saying that characteristically there are many houses in the neighborhood that also do not have 20-foot setbacks. And the existing structure that is there does not have a 20-foot setback. So you're not granting them something that is entirely arbitrary, because what you're saying is you can add an addition to the existing structure that already does not need a 20-foot setback.
I think what Lori was saying, kind of my concern is we recognize that you're agreeing with the movement of the whole pavilion back. Do we know how many, you don't know at this moment how many spaces you're gonna lose, or where the handicap is gonna go?
Well, if we're moving it, extra 6 feet, you're gonna lose 2. You're losing 1 on the left, and we'll lose 1 on the right. Because that's where your entry, if you're familiar with coming into Bell Michaels, you come in and you already have to kind of, right, to get in the parking lot. So as you move that down, we might lose 2 on that side.
Which is one of the questions I asked of you, how many you're gonna.
Which we'll have to reconfigure, you know, I mean, that's something we're gonna have to address.
But you would lose handicap, you would just lose.
No,
So the handicap's gonna have to be moved down and
They would just be.
Handicap is just bump one space
so
over.
just
Right. And
slide.
then the other traffic will flow to the back where the addition to the adjacent parking lot.
If you're granted this variance tonight, when would you start construction?
ASAP, because we gotta get it for the season.
How long do you think this construction is gonna take?
Week. It's not a big project. The roof system.
Seem pretty confident, should it?
I think I have one in my desk. Oh, it's not for this city. No, we're trying to catch up with all the reservations they have already for weddings and stuff coming. So time is of essence, we're trying to,
We understand.
And we will have to obviously close our outdoor seating when the construction's taking place, so I just wanna make sure that I'm shutting my book off for that time frame. And we do have some big reservations coming up on June 8th that we already have booked out there.
so if you wanna know when it's gonna rain,
So if the pavilion is pushed back to the 12-foot setback, explain what's gonna happen in front of it, so we can understand now.
I think we're gonna bring 5 feet of sidewalk, keep 5 feet of concrete outside of it, and put the rest in the lawn. If you get 12 feet, that way we don't have all hardscapes unless you wanna do something different.
I just need to know what the
No, I was
plan is
saying-
gonna be there.
That was the wrong, the wrong.
Do the whole thing in the lawn?
Well, no, if you have, you're talking about having a little bit of concrete over the overhang?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then that way I can put the pots of flowers
Correct,
on
correct.
that, because I wanna put
So we
that on
can
the
still
grass.
keep half of it green.
Yeah.
As lawn, and the other half can be concrete with planters.
How much do you think that is? Is that a sidewalk to, I'm trying to.
No, there's no sidewalk.
There's no sidewalk. How much over that footprint is the concrete gonna be?
It'd be 5 feet.
So you're gonna do 5 foot of concrete, so it's gonna be, this isn't gonna be
It'd be a 5-foot apron on that end of the building. On that side.
connected to the 30 by 30.
Correct.
So it's not 30 by 30, it's 35.
Well, the structure's still 30 by 30.
I understand, I'm asking the concrete is 30, is gonna be
Well,
30.
yeah.
I just need to know that, we just need to know what that is, exactly.
Right, we'll split it in half. Half's concrete, the other half's green.
The closest side to the sidewalk.
Next to the
Green.
sidewalk will be lawn, next to the fence will be, well, I call it lawn.
So you're just gonna maintain the existing, in your plan, the existing 6 foot of greenery, and then you're gonna add 5 to 6 foot of.
We'll take that
concrete.
section that you're having to slide it down, we'll make that hardscape. That way they can put their planters on it.
Is that what you were thinking, Pete?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it being concrete for that, I mean, 6 feet of green space and 6 feet of concrete, you know, with planters on it, that doesn't present any concern, I don't think.
Would that extra concrete line up to the sidewalk that goes in underneath the tent to the main sidewalk of the entrance of the steps to the restaurant?
No,
It
there's
won't
2
line
different
up.
elevations.
No, yeah, there's shrubbery, like, when that tent goes to the end, then we have shrubbery that's there in between that and the awning to go inside the main
Right,
entrance.
that might be at the 6 foot mark. At the 12 foot mark, that extra concrete that you're saying might be hardscape. Might match up to the sidewalk that goes into your main entrance off the side of the tent that's currently there.
Out on the front of the building,
Yeah.
I think the front of the building is a higher elevation. There's steps that go up through there.
Why keep?
That's why they did the ramp situation 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever.
What's the idea of keeping the fence then there?
For aesthetics and privacy.
Noise. I mean, it gets noisy there. When
From the
traffic
cars
there,
going back?
Dirt,
you see
the
the
road.
those motorcycles, those trucks with the bazooka cars with the bazooka mufflers. Somebody in there, you can,
That was probably your truck.
you can, no, not mine. You can hear, I mean, if you don't have that, and we do, I mean, I do the bamboo, blinds, that's, I mean, on top of that,
But it's also a nice dust barrier too,
yeah.
so
and
you're not
those,
getting
yeah,
all that
yeah,
road dust
yeah.
and, you know, whatever coming from the front.
See a motion? Does anyone have further discussion?
Good discussion.
Well, I don't have, so the plan that are presented, this is kind of the point that Lori was making, plans that are presented, how do we make a motion to amend the plans?
Just mark them up, mark them as a little bit.
Modification.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, yeah.
So I guess I'll make a motion to,
Can you say how you want it?
yeah, so to approve the plan with the modification of the pavilion being a 12-foot setback rather than the 6-foot setback that is shown on the plan.
And allowing for the 5-foot concrete apron off of the pad. Right.
Yeah, I'm allowing for that, I don't think that's,
And then green to, close to the street sidewalk.
So you're approving the plan, the modification of the pavilion being adjusted to a 12-foot setback, allowing for a 5-foot concrete apron and green space to remain sidewalk.
It's okay, Alex?
Sounds
And,
about right.
and the
Yeah.
friendly amendment to that would just be that it has to be even with the current building. So if it's 12 and a half feet, it has to be 12 and a half feet, so.
It's gotta be,
The
it's gotta be
intent
flush.
is that it will be even with,
It's gotta be flush with the building, right?
so how about we say flush with the building?
Approve the plan with the modification of the pavilion
Being flush with the,
meeting the existing setback of the existing structure.
yes.
so I would second that.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Chair Tuna,
Yes.
Vice Chair Montandi,
Yes.
Commissioner Phelps,
Yes.
Commissioner Wood,
Yes.
Commissioners in notice.
Yes.
Variance is granted, please see the code office to get the permit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
folks.
Thank you.
We need a permit?
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I said
Sorry.
you're all safe.
Thanks,
Thank you very much.
I'm still not sure, I'm still not clear honestly for this. My understanding is that that in an R2 zone, there may only be one primary building, okay, in use. And really, how we're looking at this is there's now two. I understand it's not a separate lot, we've expanded a non-conforming use. But that's my understanding is like the Stagecoach was looking at their situation, they wanted to use the garage.
And the outside.
And right, they wanted to, but they would have two primary use buildings on the property, which was not gonna be allowed. So I just wondered how we're seeing that this one was going to be different, and that was part of my question. It is two different lots, I
But
understand.
it's grandfathered in.
It's.
Well, I mean, so I just want to clear,
Yes, I understand what Steve said.
Stagecoach was a special use permit.
Yeah, this is not.
Completely different.
Right, it's different, I understand, but I'm just asking, what is, I was trying to understand about the fact that we're looking at this kind of as one piece of property, and now there will be two primary use buildings on it, even though it is two separate pieces of property.
I mean, it's an addition on an existing building.
It's not an extra business on that building.
I understand it's not an extra business, but it's an extra primary building.
Yeah, it is a freestanding structure
But it's,
that has a primary use.
That's the same as the one
Right,
outside.
so that's, I mean, my position was like, we could make them go get basically do a lot line adjustment and make one parcel and then come and say, okay, we're back, can we build our pavilion? And
Have the same
we'd be
conversation.
having the same conversation that you just had, except it would be one lot instead of two. I mean,
So if it's one lot, Steve.
Yeah.
In the city of Oneonta, an R2 zone, and they have two primary buildings on one lot.
a pavilion is not a primary building. Just like a garage is not a primary structure.
But they're using it for the restaurant.
So there's one use, which is a restaurant, and they have a pavilion that has outdoor seating as part of the restaurant use, so
So
it's
you
by,
would see that as two primary buildings.
no, it's by definition an accessory use.
I think that's what we called it, right, was an accessory.
Yeah, it's an accessory structure.
Okay,
Accessory structures are accessory to the primary use, which is a restaurant.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the second item on the agenda is for, what is this, 22 to 40 Beach Street. Who's here to represent?
Scott Harrington for Harvard College.
I'm Mr. Harrington. Let us know what you'd like to do and why.
Well, so back when D Street Lofts was being constructed, there was a agreement made between the college and Harding Development that part of that structure was going to be used for a Grain Innovation Center, which we knew was gonna have signs on it. In between construction delays and stuff like that, I'm gonna say we changed the code a little bit for signage, and it does come up off of the street. So back when this was being built, it was with the intent of doing that, then we kind of changed the zone. So we kind of, and this building's a brand new building, it's not like a old building, it doesn't really fit within those type of landscapes as you go down through. So Hardwick would like to put up a sign to advertise where they're at as they are coming down the community. I'm just a facilities guy, so I know nothing about bread, cooking, you know. It's gonna be educational in nature as well. They're gonna be testing and cooking and doing all these lab tests and stuff like that in there. So, trying to be a little proactive, I reached out to Steve Yearly and I said, hey, because this building wasn't exactly built in time, do I have to come through and go through the process? And this is where we're at to be able to get the signage on there. I provided pictures and mock-ups of what they're proposing. So there's kind of two things going on. There's a sign up at the top. It's gonna say Hardwick College Center for Food and Beverage. It is not lit, it's just letters on the side of the building. They're not like protruding out. It's, I call it a flush mount. They're gonna just stick out just a little bit so you can mount it onto the structure. And then down, I put in for the awning as well because I'm that thing is already built there over the door. I call it an awning, so I said, well, if we're gonna put something on there, I'm trying to be a little proactive there and say, for the awning, because they want to make that the blue with the Hardwick College logo on there. So they can kind of stick out a little bit because, you know, obviously SUNY's just down the street from us a little bit with their building that sits out there. It's gonna be a blue with the white lettering that says Hardwick College on the awning, and the other letters, I believe, I gotta check my email, I believe are gonna to be an acrylic or a stainless steel style type letter. You're not, like I said, nothing's lit up, it's all just flat, you know, to try to be as less intrusive as we can, but to try to, you know, draw the eye where we're at, because there are donors that do, you know, obviously get money and stuff like that, so. And in a nutshell, that's what it is, and I figured I'll just stop there and let you guys ask me a whole mess of questions, or you can just say yes and I can go.
Thank you, Scott. I guess you would call it it's over top of the entry door to the Craft Innovation Center. How is that going, that's gonna remain there? And you're gonna put up, explain how that's gonna be done.
Which one, you mean the awning type one with doors?
Thing, yeah.
So yeah, that's already there, it's painted brown. And so, I'm not the marketing person did this.
Sure.
Oh, give me a sec, let me look at this. Here's where blindness comes in. So what the plan is, and looking at the thing is, obviously Hardwick colors are blue and white. So, to kind of catch your eye a little bit at the ground level, it's just gonna be blue. We're gonna paint it blue.
Okay,
That's what you're asking.
That's
So
what
paint
I'm
it blue.
Paint it blue.
And then we're just gonna put the white porcelain up there that says, has the Hardwick Bell Tower and Hardwick College. So yeah, we're gonna paint it blue. It's
Okay.
not.
And then the Grain Innovation Center, I haven't been in that building. Is it all floors or is it just the bottom floor?
It's 2 floors. The bottom floor has all their cooking you guys could've came in today, we're just down there. It has, so as you walk through that front door, you go right to the right, that's where you're gonna have your mixers, your ovens, your dishwashers and all that. Then as you go through where there's a little section in the back, and that's where they do all their testing and have all their little laboratory and stuff set up. If you go upstairs, you're gonna have your classrooms and your offices for the people that are gonna be there. I think there's 2 offices and the rest are classrooms that are gonna be up there, because they're gonna hold classes and stuff up there as well.
So those
And there's,
three,
what's that, go ahead.
those 3x3, it's the facade there, it's like a 3x3 foot, I think it's the brown part of the building. So you take, you guys occupy that entire space.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's
Nothing's
your-
gonna be on the residential. The residential's to the left,
Yeah,
and then that waste section way up top, I think there's like 1 apartment up there. I don't have the whole layout on top of my head, but we're just doing
but
what
the
we were
Grain
doing.
Innovation Center are on those
2 stories.
Those 2 stories, that's your footprint.
That's our
for your-
footprint,
For that
yeah.
building. And so it's that color, that color that we see in the front, which is, I think, a 3x3 brown look.
Yeah, they're like 36-inch
Yeah.
blocks that they build in there.
And that's your footprint, that's where you are.
Yeah, we're going across there, trying to, fit in the best that we can.
Did you
And
say
it's because, the other thing that it is I think it's Steve's gonna correct me, I know he is, but it's a sight distance thing. We're higher than what, right, we had to go, we're
You're
up higher
15.
than.
Well,
You're,
Yeah,
On there.
so the code before we changed it would not permitted this sign.
yeah,
Because the code has always said that signage cannot be higher than 50 feet. So the old code from 2011 or 12 or whenever it was brought in, this would not have complied.
the question I have for you, Steve, while you're talking is.
Or
this-
Scott even.
Well,
No,
I'm
I'm
gonna ask him, this particular, property received the RI funds?
Yes.
Okay, when this was designed, was the Craft Innovation Center designed into it?
I have no idea, because I had nothing to do with the DRI.
Okay, Scott, do you know the answer?
Yes, it was, that was an actual joint project, between Gary Herzig as the mayor, President Dragovich as the president of Harvard College at the time, and Kearney Development Group.
So you said that the signage is coming up now. Why wasn't it put into the full plan back then when the entire building was designed? Do you know that? Why?
I have theories, I don't know, because I wasn't made any part of the project until.
Well, there was particular design guidelines that this, project had to follow, design guidelines, and, I think that they fit this particular code too. And that's what I was just curious to know, if that, so you're saying that it wasn't done before and this is something that's just coming up now,
There was no sign permit put in before.
at the time?
So because the code is what it is, I mean, the DRI guidelines were never a law. They were never legislatively passed.
Sure.
It was tied to funding. So if Scott would have put this in front of me 5 years ago, it still wouldn't have been permitted because it didn't meet the code.
Well, that's what I was just asking, I was, questioning when the whole thing was passed through, and approved.
Yeah, so the Lost on Deeds project, the site plan, everything was approved, with
Yeah.
no signage.
Yeah, that's what I was just asking, that's what I was just trying to get to.
In anticipation of that question, Jim, I took this picture of when the original thing was drawn up. And, it's not exactly 100% the way it is now, but you can see, here's the Deep Street loft versus Deep Street,
Yeah.
and here's the overhang.
Yeah,
It
sure,
says-
yeah.
So they kind of had that in the original mock-up.
Okay.
So, if you guys want to see.
Yeah.
I found that today down at so it's, like I said, I wasn't at the beginning of this project, I got brought in towards.
Are the letters up?
So this is the area that you're painting blue.
This here, they changed the overhang, this is just like a mock-up, and when they first started designing the concept, this is what they were starting to envision with it, that's the only reason why I took the picture, it actually sits in the front of the building, so. Yes, I'll watch your cable. Just a little historic on it.
Scott, did you say that the letters, I saw that there was two different drawings and there are pictures of the letters that were gonna be up on the building. Are they gonna be white or silver, you don't know yet?
Good lord.
Right, one says
Oh, I
steel,
got the email.
and one says white.
And I was just curious what was. Steve, when you were talking specifically about the code for the sign, we know that, that the code requires that this particular, is this plate, like, in other words, this is gonna be, Scott, this is gonna be an applique of Harvard College on the blue part?
Okay, what?
Is this gonna be like an applique that you're placing on? Like, you know, the Hartwick, I think it's the belt, whatever the tower is.
Yeah.
The blue part, is that an applique or is that painted on to the?
The blue is gonna be a paint.
I know the blue, I'm talking about the white part.
The white part is gonna be like a white porcelain.
Porcelain. So does that, that's a sign, that's a sign?
Yep.
Okay,
So-
if it was painted on, it's not a sign, or it is still a sign?
Yeah, so I mean, the signage that they're proposing on the, like, the awning and all the appliques and stuff, like, that's all permitted, and that's
Yes.
fine. Where they're deviating from the code is the height on
Yeah.
sidewalk.
Yeah.
I mean, so the signage they proposed, like with the awning and the door stuff, like, that's all, that's permitted, that meets the code.
Well, I think you were, in one of this, you had an issue with the valance exceeding 12 inches.
Yep.
But it's already there, right?
No, it's what they're applying for, so you would have to, like, address the valance height, but not the actual graphic.
Okay.
So the valance, instead of being like a triangular type, like what, like the latte lounge has.
Are you talking about the awning? See, I'm trying to
Does
understand.
this exist right now, and you're
No.
gonna paint this box?
No.
Is that what you're saying, Scott? This,
See, I'm confused, I don't know if what's existing there is getting painted, or you're putting
The
it on.
existing there is brown. There's a
Yes.
brown awning thing that's already there, that's already built in.
that's a box built in over the doorway, that's all I remember.
I know it was designed to have something on there.
And you're painting that.
We're gonna paint it, like to paint it blue and put the white.
We're
And
not
then it's an
adding any other
existing part of the
awnings.
building.
Right, so that's all fine.
Okay,
But where's the awning? Because it says that the application.
Originally, when we discussed this, they talked about putting it
Okay.
on.
So
no
we're-
awning.
No awning.
Yeah, like,
That's
that was
what I wanted to
marketing. Yeah, I had Steve up there so he can understand what I go through in a day.
Right.
So, and so we put it in there.
Okay.
So all we're looking at there is the height, it says height.
Right, the height, the location of those signs that are like 20 feet in the air.
Okay.
Exceeds what the code allows.
I understand, we were looking at, we thought that there was maybe an additional awning that was gonna be
Right,
raised there.
that's,
too.
that would be too.
Yeah.
So didn't we?
Okay,
So
so
did I,
there is no
so
awning.
yes.
So Scott, the other choice is to bring the sign down in between the windows, right? Would that be a choice?
That's
I mean, that's an option.
that is an
It
option.
doesn't mean that it's the one you should take, but it is, that would be the option, right? If you had to meet the 15 feet.
369, what's the?
Yeah, I don't see it, I was out there today, I don't think it fits within
It
that, it doesn't, I don't think it does.
Yeah.
Would it be an option to make those letters smaller? The footprint of the sign smaller, or is it already ordered and you're just asking for variance?
Oh, no, I wouldn't let them order anything yet. I sat in their seat once, so I told them, hold on. Make it smaller, again, I'm a facilities guy, I'm not a
I don't think
marketing
we'd
guy.
bring it down though.
I don't think it's gonna bring it down, I don't think it's gonna, I think if you make it smaller, it's actually, it probably won't really show up.
Okay, and this is my perspective, you're not shouting this to anybody besides the park across the street.
Mhm.
Car that's driving by is gonna see the sign if it's 20 feet wide or 10 feet wide. They can read a 10-foot wide sign. The height is, I think, the variance is what we have to deal with, but I still think the sign is way too big for the building.
Well, I'm gonna respectfully disagree with that, because you gotta remember, that building goes the whole length.
But it's not the whole building, it's the.
I know, but the whole
convention
building is
center.
tied in, I mean, you look at that building, it's tied in all the way down through, it's not.
But you're not trying to label the entire.
Right, we're just trying to label that section, you gotta stand out from the rest of that, because you got 3/4 of it residential and 1/4 of it being a commercial structure.
So how much larger is this sign than what's dictated in the code? I was trying to figure that out. You know, how far would the code bring it down? Because I certainly hear what you're saying.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I didn't look at
20
that
feet wide.
myself. Right, it's 20 wide, and what's the width of the building?
Wide by,
I think that the issue that I have is I've looked at this a couple different times. On one rendering, it's only 5 blocks wide, which is about 15 feet, and the other one's about 7. So we're just trying to estimate, I know you drew it, you measured it, I think,
So the first one, Jim, that's 5 foot,
or 5 blocks, it's like
5 blocks. That first one was just a mock-up real quick of, without having any measurements of what the blocks were actually measured at
Okay.
that point. That was just, what would this look like? I used those photos to put all these other measurements on there to mark it up so you could see what the blocks were, what height was, so we could get there to get the exact height that would look good. Again, I'm not a marketing professional, I have no idea. But they came back that the smaller one would disappear, you needed kind of the bigger one to stand out, so.
Let's just put an H up there, just put a giant H.
Technically, in the world of retail, logos is branding, not the name. Right, but
I take your word for it, I really don't know.
Steve, what is the actual code for the, is it the linear feet?
It's 1.5 feet of width for the width of the building. And you can't have a sign that exceeds 5 feet in height. So the height of the sign is restricted to 5 feet, the width is pretty wide.
Yeah, so that building's got to be at least,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean,
So it could be 20, almost 20, if it says 100, is it 150 feet, that building's more than that, right?
Well, that's the whole building.
well, it's one building.
It's one building, it's
Yeah.
not,
It's one building.
you can't look at that building and say that's just
Even
that
if you measure
section.
just that one run, I mean, you're still, that could be a pretty large sign. The width is not, I don't think the width
The height
is
is
the
the
problem.
issue.
The location of the sign is the issue.
And not the height of the sign, it's
The
the
actual-
position of
the
the
height
sign.
from the ground.
The height from the ground and also the width of the sign itself, not the length of the sign, is that correct?
I don't have the drawing in front of me.
It's,
So technically, we've got 12 blocks across,
It's like almost 40, it's almost 40 feet.
36 feet,
Yeah.
36 feet.
Yeah.
And if the sign is 20 feet, that's like 20.
Yeah, I don't think the
1.5
1.5
square
square
feet
feet
per-
per linear foot of building frontage, if you're
Per
counting the
linear
entirety of the building, the width of the sign isn't a concern, if you're counting the entire width.
No, it's not. It's not.
So that's the
I think that
concern.
the concern is the aesthetic of it, how big it was. To that space, I think that's what they're looking at.
Yeah.
But if it's 1.5 square feet, then the width does count.
Yeah, so it's 1.5 square feet,
Right.
and you can't exceed 5 feet in height. So that's how you're determining the overall square footage of the sign.
Right, but I'm looking at it in terms of linear, and I know maybe might be the wrong way to look at it, but if the width of the building is 36 feet, and the sign is 20 feet,
Well, Louisa, I think that the width of the building is the whole building. I think it's not just the Craft Innovation Center.
No, I mean, so the width of the Craft Innovation.
Is that what you're saying? Is
If
it-
you're saying that width of the Craft Innovation Center is 30 feet.
Yeah, I think it's more than, I think it's 36
It's
feet.
36
36
feet.
feet.
and
Okay,
the
so,
sign's 20 feet, almost 20 feet.
But it's 1.5
so it's
feet
1.5 feet of
square
square
foot
footage
per,
per run.
so at 36 feet, Louisa, it's,
Is there a sign that says the
It's
Deep?
50, it's 54, it's about 54 square feet. This exceeds it by 20%.
This, I don't know where you're coming up with the length of this, cause it's, doing quick math, you're over about 40,
Okay,
not 30.
I don't know, I'm just asking.
I just honestly, you said that the blocks are 36 and I counted 12 blocks across. I mean, it's not,
1, 2,
To
3,
scale?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, then you got the half block at the end of that block, which adds another one.
11, 12.
So you're looking at
13.
13 by 3, and that's 9, that's 3 to go over, so you got 39 square foot. Roughly.
And the size of the sign is 20 feet, so that's half of the size of the building.
Yeah.
The length.
I think they fit it above the windows, and I'm looking at it as it looks, you know, kind of like at the end of the
In between the
windows
two
there, you
windows.
see that's, you
Then you
know.
can come in between here and just drop it in between the windows. I don't recall, because you know what, I drive right past there every day. Is there a sign that says the Deep Street Lofts and the Deep Street Buildings?
No, it's just a front brick building.
So we would be approving the sign as the size that you've presented here in this application, and then you're just gonna make it fit up there in between those windows, right? Because I think you just put it up there, I don't know what you did there.
That one came, let me look at this, do you got this page, Jim? One at,
Oh, yes, we do, okay.
that is from the sign company. If that answers your question about your heights and your,
Yeah, you're talking about.
Right, it's
Yeah.
20 feet, yeah.
Yeah, it's 20 foot, I think it says 3 inches there. Pete, you got any other questions?
I guess my question is more for us and for Steve, are we measuring the width of the sign against the width of the Craft Food Beverage Center, or are we?
The whole
measuring
building.
The whole building, so then the width of the sign isn't a concern,
Yeah, so
right?
the way the code reads is it reads tenant spaces.
Okay,
So you could read this you guys could theoretically say that this is a tenant space and not one building.
Yeah.
Because like, if you look at like Main Street, like Latte Lounge is a tenant space of, you know, those very, so you could look at this in the same way and say that this is a tenant space in the Lofts on Deeds building, and that would change how you would measure the area of the sign. Or you could say it's one building, and that this is part of the Lofts on Deeds, they're not a tenant space, it's a one building and the sign is what it is, I mean, it's up to you. You're the zoning board of appeals, and that's part of being the zoning interpretive board.
I see this as being this, you know, the actual tenant space, which is the brown part, that's what I was trying to clarify in the beginning of this, that's why I was asking those questions. That's what I see it as, I'm just one person. They occupy those 2 floors in that space, that's their space that they occupy.
So your point, Jim, is it is tenant space.
That's what,
That's what I
that's
see.
my interpretation is that it is tenant space. Scott, would there be any consideration to lessen the sign, size, length, length there? Would there be any consideration there for that?
I consider anything,
Well,
I mean, like I said, I mean, I kinda got the vice presidents and the presidents are all out of town this,
Sure.
you know, I mean.
One photograph, I heard some comments over here, one photograph shows a smaller sign,
it does.
and then this one shows a larger sign.
Yeah, the one that was a smaller was just a quick mock-up that, of what they sent and what it could possibly look like if it was
Sure.
stainless steel versus,
Like,
you know, the white.
Well, we have three,
So-
no, there's three.
Versions.
So there's one that, this
Right.
is the first one that I looked at. And this is where there's a smaller representation of the sign. And then there's, one with a back and a front page here. And it has the white and the silver letters, and the sign is probably 5 or 6 feet or longer.
Okay, hold on a minute, because I might be able to use. Yeah, so the original one where I marked this all up, this is the one you're talking about? It has all the marks on it? That was never done to scale, that was just throw up there, this is what it would look like with these possible,
Different
if it
letters.
was this kind of lettering
Okay,
style. I used this photo to give everybody the measurements and marked it up with my poor computer skills, but marked it up with what the dimensions were to try to help you out when you're trying to look at things.
But based on this scale, this sign is 80 square feet. It's 4 feet by 20,
okay,
okay? And given the fact that we said that the building was, let's just say 40 feet long, that far exceeds what the code requires.
But,
So, you know, I would propose that the smaller sign makes sense. And would meet code, and then we could deal with the fact that it's over 15 feet in the air.
I don't think it can be really any less than that in this case.
I'm not disagreeing, but I'm just saying that there's two issues, and
Yeah.
the sign is huge, it's 80 square feet, and that doesn't meet it. If it met the code in terms of size, then we could adjust to the fact that it makes sense that it's more than 15 feet up.
Yeah, so it's about a third large. Scott, you wanna contemplate that? That request, potentially?
Can you like explain it?
Yeah, I think that they
Repeat
want
it.
to see the sign come more into line with the, required square footage, which would be about 60 square feet versus and we're not exactly accurate here because we don't know, exactly how wide the building is, I don't think.
it says it's 38 feet
Is it, where does it say?
on page 36 of the application.
So it says it's
It
38,
says it says 38 feet.
okay, 38 feet.
What's the width of the building, the street frontage from this business?
Okay. Yeah, so like, they're looking for it to become a little closer to the square
Should be
footage.
about 57
It's about 57 square feet
as
versus
opposed to
the
80.
be close to the 80 that it is.
So you wanna, what do you want that?
50, like 57 square feet is what, at 38 linear feet of building width at 1.5 square feet, allows for a 57, square foot sign. And that would reduce maybe the length and the height a little bit.
And then,
You're reducing it about 33%, the total sign.
Which in the world of all the buildings that are downtown, probably one of the largest signs that exists, besides the smoke shop in the Ford parking lot. Hopefully will be gone soon.
Yeah.
That's a different story.
We're gonna get to that.
you're the zoning board, you wanna pass that, you pass that, and then I guess we have to work within those limits, I don't.
Well, I mean, do you wanna go back and ask, do you wanna contemplate this, I mean, I could ask you for a motion, you know, to table this to the next meeting, so that way we, you know, we have it done, like, you know, so it works, you know, because I don't wanna pass, I think that they are okay with the height requirement, I think everybody on the board is okay with that, and how it aesthetically looks with the windows that are there, it's almost impossible. I mean, I guess it could go in the middle there, but that kind of doesn't make a lot of sense, but, I think their issue is that it's 30-some% larger, which is being applied for here. And, I think if it came more into line with the code, it's up to you. I'm giving you that, like, you know what you'd like to think about that.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I could take it back to the vice president that this falls under, and ask exactly what he wants, I don't mind that. I guess my only thing would be, would we be all right to go ahead with the approval of the blue?
Well, that doesn't need any approvals.
It doesn't mean that it's true, it doesn't, it's
I
already
thought that was
there.
over top from the eyes, no? Did I read that
No,
wrong?
no.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
It's an awning,
Okay, so, yeah, all right,
38 by 1.5.
Right, what did you get the height of this?
What did it
The height of
say?
this language.
Well, on this, the height is, if you look at it,
Well, they're gonna
it's
change the,
47, it's like 4 feet.
Right.
But that would have to all, that,
Well, I know.
It just all has to
yeah,
fit in
I'm just
57
trying to
square feet.
dimension what you-
they're gonna change the aspect ratio depending on how long it is.
yeah, I don't care.
you want
I
to
get paid to be here, I don't care. I don't feel comfortable telling you, yeah, we can do that, I think I need to go back to the vice president
So.
that oversees this and be like, what do you want?
I would move that we table
Yeah.
This to the
this
next,
action until the next meeting.
It's not like we're gonna open it tomorrow anyway, so.
What is projected?
I don't know, we just had a walkthrough, we just gave them another punch list. So,
Anybody want to second it?
I'm just trying, I'm trying to get the date, how exactly.
I'm slow with the calendar. So it would be the,
make it for a day I'm on vacation.
Wednesday, the 26th.
Okay, that's the day we're going to South Carolina.
Okay,
It's the date I come again.
Louise,
I'd second it, yeah.
clerk, please call the roll.
Chair Toya,
Yes.
Vice Chair Martinez.
Yes.
Commissioner Pop,
Yes.
Commissioner Rubin.
Yes.
Commissioner Amos.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Herring.
Yep.
I have something I wanted to ask, the code enforcement officer, if you could, please, there's a property, in the plaza over there, in area 51. We denied that application. Can you let us know, what's going on? I'm hearing a little bit from the chatter from local residents about the ribbon that's at the top of his, window that consistently shines. Also, someone brought up to me that there is a bright white light that is emitting from a counter and it shines into the parking lot and into the houses across the street all night long. And I didn't know if you could speak to the effect of whether or not that's a permit, like can you shine light from inside, outside? So it's just a question that's been brought up to me.
No, it's a good.
Okay, so the ribbon on the top, is that where it moves? Is
Yeah,
that-
that was all part of the denial.
Okay, that's what I
So
thought.
the problem I mean, now what we're in the phase of is we ticket, so
Okay.
we wait for the court to actually do something.
So
So
what?
like, I can't go to that property and like tear a sign down and
No.
like spike
Oh,
in front of
come
this building.
Okay.
So what'll happen now is we'll have to go to court, we'll have to write a ticket, we'll have to do all the processes through court to get him to take the sign down. Or we have to go to the county court and get an order from the county court for him to remove the sign.
Okay,
So that's the
The quicker
process.
process.
What?
Which one would be the quicker process?
City court is the cost of the prosecutor, county court is the cost of paying Dave Merzig. Neither is quick, I mean, that's it's the will of the court.
When do they start? They started as of the denial date?
Well, we had to wait to send them notice that they've been denied. Then we have to send them notice saying you are now currently in violation, because if you file a zoning appeal, I can't do anything. So the minute you file a zoning appeal, if you're breaking the law, you get until the zoning board makes a determination, before I can then issue a 30-day violation notice. So that's where we're at right now.
Anybody got any questions about that? There was one other topic that I wanted to bring up with you and ask. Recently, there's been some code revisions in the city code over the last couple of years. And from the best of my recollection over time, it seemed as though the zoning board had been informed of some of these zoning revisions and changes. And I was, I haven't seen, we haven't seen them here at the board, when we're going ahead and, interpreting some of these codes that we really haven't had any basic comment on. A couple years ago, you and I had a discussion here at the ZBA about turning the properties which fell out of their ability to have occupancy. Let's say it was a two-family and it was unoccupied, and we were able to make that particular, but that's the last one that I heard about. And I think that, here at zoning, when we're, going ahead and, interpreting these codes, and sometimes we get stopped by people, that, oh, you made this change and that change. It seems as though some of the codes are coming from the code, or excuse me, some of the zoning changes are coming from the code office, put it on an agenda, and then they're being adopted, let's say, by the council, and it seems as though we're outside of that in some respects. So I would, I think we would enjoy, some correspondence between us and, any type of, zoning changes that there would be. I remember in the past there was, and there has been even recently, but some of these kind of have been outside of, the zoning board. So I didn't know if there was a reason for that. I think we looked at it as though it doesn't say anything necessarily in the charter or any requirements where it has to go that way. It does go through the planning, I think, but it may just be a process change, maybe. I don't know what I was just wanted to have, talk to you a little bit about that, see what you thought.
Yeah, so typically any changes to the zoning code are done through public hearings. So anytime there's been a change to the zoning code, it's always been in a public meeting and always been noted and always been publicly.
Sure.
There's been a public hearing. There's literally an opportunity for anyone from the public to provide comment. In the past, we circulated most zoning revisions through the legislative committee, which is also a public board and also has a public hearing. But I mean, we can go through all the zoning changes through the zoning board if you want.
I think it's notification, and if there was any particular comment that we might want to have on it. I mean, we had been asked by past council members when they were our liaison to make specific, we haven't had a consistent liaison here in probably 3 to 4 years. It's been changing quite a bit here and there, and I think that that's where it was coming through. So I think it's almost like a process problem, because in past councils, we've always had a liaison that would ask us, what do you think about these? What's your comment on these short-term rentals, or what's your comment on, the zoning change in this particular area where we're seeing a need for this? And that's what I'm saying. So maybe into the future, whoever gets appointed to be our liaison, they're notified, or, it's recommended to them to, if there's zoning changes that coming up that they're aware of, maybe that's how we communicate through the zoning board. I don't know what the best way is.
legislative committee.
Or the legislative committee or something to that effect.
Yeah, I mean,
That's just my comment on it, for sitting here. I just want to be able to, know what's, or if we want to make a comment on it. I mean, there might be some cases where there is not necessarily, need to make any particular comment. I just don't remember in the recent history where some of these things are happening and the zoning board hasn't been kind of brought in on all this. And I know in the new MU1 zone in downtown with the Historical Preservation Committee, and we have this new process to which we're following, I think since 2021 or 22, whatever that January was, whereby it was going through the Landmarks and Historic Committee, then to the planning, and then to the zoning. It was supposed to help there be a little bit more communication between, the different boards. The question I have, and I look at this as from an economic development standpoint, and when I start to look at these things, when we're looking at them, we used to have something in the city called the Red Tape Express, where the people would just go right to the zoning board, let's let's say, where we can do everything, because this is the only governing, tell me if I'm wrong, but this is the only body which can, give a variance, and so if somebody was needed, like, let's say, the hot topic is this coffee shop that wanted to go on Walnut Street, it seemed to me that, in my estimation, it would have been, in some respects, better just to come all the way here first, versus going through all those things, and that, we're trying to understand that as a zoning board, why we wouldn't do that, and it would hasten the process. Business today moves at the speed of light, we need things that, happen faster. We need to develop the economy locally here, and we wanna see people invest. But we don't wanna have the reputation where you have to go through all these processes and they become laborious. And what happens is people think that this is a pain in the butt, and they may not wanna invest in the community because they see as being they have to go through all of these processes to get eventually to the zoning board, which is going to approve whether or not, in some respects, they can do what they
Says
want
no.
to do. And they say no, that's basically, in some respects that way. So I didn't know what you thought about that.
So the red tape express concept inherently is flawed.
Okay,
The Department of State has made comment on that. Because what I would do if I knew that I could get a zoning variance, I would put an application that intentionally violated the zoning ordinance so that I wouldn't have to go to the planning commission. So I could go directly to the zoning board and get an approval. Because what you're creating is two bodies that can theoretically approve site plans. So if I have a site plan that I don't think will be approved by the planning commission, I can intentionally write a zoning violation into it, go to the zoning board and ask for the same. Or I can take a site plan that's been denied by the planning commission and then request a site plan review by the zoning board by concocting a zoning violation. So the idea is you don't want two boards doing the same types of reviews.
I agree with you.
Because what'll happen is if we get sued, we'll have two boards that are theoretically making determinations that are not concurrent with each other.
So what my point was specifically that they just go to the board, like, they would go to the zoning board, what I mean?
So I'm like, hey, I know that I'll get approved by the, let's say I'm like, hey, I know a guy in the zoning board, I think I'll get approved by the zoning board. I'm gonna intentionally make a setback violation so that I can ask for a variance that triggers site plan review. So you're creating a world where if I think I can get approval through the zoning board versus the planning commission, or vice versa, you're gonna go to whichever board you think will get approved.
That seems quite devious to me. I mean, I could imagine that
Ideally,
potentially it
people
would
all day
happen.
long.
Potentially it could happen. What I'm speaking to the effect of how to speeding up the process to which when somebody wants to get their business open. A lot of
I don't have a
people,
zoning violation. I mean, what you're saying is, so I guess where I'm at is, our new code doesn't even require you guys to do a review unless you're intentionally doing something that's weird.
well, there's a lot of cases just like this Harvard College one that just came up here.
Okay.
And they need
An area
an area
which you can
variance.
grant. You
And we can
tonight.
grant, and what my point is, let's say they needed a site plan review before this and they needed all this other
Well,
stuff.
we removed all that from the code,
Okay,
so that's not in the code. So like, if I need a site plan review in downtown Oneonta, it's because I'm building like a 35,000 square foot building. We basically, we've moved to, the only thing requiring site plan review in downtown Oneonta is like building the lots on deeds. Because we intended to get rid of all those review processes.
so when there's like a sign like on 189, and
Those are not permitted in the code, so they need a zoning variance.
and I understand that, and what my particular point is that if it has to go to the landmarks and historic for a comment, and
So that's not zoning, that's an entirely different process that you guys have nothing to do with.
I understand that.
You cannot ask for zoning, you cannot ask for a zoning variance from that particular ordinance. Because it's not zoning. So you'll never have someone that can ask you for relief from that ordinance.
From the historic ordinance.
Correct. Because it's not zoning.
So where does that person go?
They don't. They get denied or they get approved.
So it's potentially stifling business if they don't do it exactly that way.
No, they just have to comply with the code.
But if it's a code, then it goes to then if they need a variant, what code is this? I'm trying to understand.
So historic preservation ordinance historically exist outside of zoning. So they're not zoning ordinances, so they are not overseen by the zoning board of appeals. So the council can provide relief if you can show financial hardship.
The council can?
Yep.
What type of things would be in the historical code that, would be denied?
In-kind replacement,
In-kind replacement,
that's what you can do in that code.
okay.
So in-kind replacement.
Example.
So like, for example, if I was like, I wanna put corrugated sheet metal siding on 195 Main, you couldn't do that. If you were like, I wanna tear out all the windows in a historic building and make them, 14 inches smaller, you couldn't do that. So like, for example, the Ford Block is a great example of historic preservation that's done very well, and they received tax credits for it. That's a project we get approved, and it wasn't. So our historic commission isn't doing anything right now because they haven't made any local districts. So the word on the street that somehow is like blocking any sort of application is incorrect, because they currently have no jurisdictional authority to do reviews.
But they still have to go there though?
Nope.
They don't have to go,
That's
so
what-
if somebody decides not to go.
Right now, that
Okay.
ordinance is not in effect because they do not have a local
Okay.
district.
Didn't they just send out a letter?
Yep.
About, because I received one.
Yep.
They're gonna have a public hearing.
Yep.
To determine.
Local district boundaries, yep. And a lot of that was in response to the Stagecoach project, where everyone said, well, this is a historic district, why, they can't do this, it's historic. That's not true. So the response to that was, we should get our local districts made, so that there is a reviewing body in those districts to make sure that potentially projects people don't wanna see are not approved.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay.
Thank you.
And historic preservation ordinances, I mean, if we look at successful places, like, Saratoga has this historic preservation ordinance, so many communities have historic preservation ordinances that are successful, and it's just part of maintaining what we've heard a lot of is that people are tearing up historic buildings. People don't like that landlords are tearing off porches and doing all these horrible things, and we've heard that feedback, and that's why that was passed.
All right. Anybody else have any, new stuff?
No, but thanks for
Yep.
asking this question. It's great.
Thank you.
Might I say something? I apologize. First, thank you very much for the invitation. I do support the Harwood sign. I think it's be wonderful. There will no longer be the Beach Street Lofts, it'll be Harwood College Lofts, so.
Let's ask that question, be careful.
Yeah, I guess this might not be the appropriate forum, but I appreciate you bringing up the smoke shop there, et cetera. I guess and I'll have to bring this up elsewhere, but as you kind of do your reviews, et cetera, I'm sure I'll get notified of any changes in the Beach Street parking lot. But there's been significant changes. The recording studio now hosts parties on Saturday nights. And there's tailgating parties.
Yeah, they had a big one the other night, all the, law enforcement.
Three police cars come in.
I saw that.
I don't think they got out to deal with it because it's that big.
Yeah.
And it's quite significant, and this is what happened last spring, maybe last fall, but it was quite significant, so I don't know, one of the things is, as we add things, are we kind of, I don't want to use the word policing, but are we keeping the totality of the experiences or the environment of, the concern about it, like the deterioration, because that happened over a couple of weekends, that was a big one. The police coming in at midnight, and the parking lot is filled with people, cars. This Saturday night, cars again, but people go into the venue. The recording studio hosts, I don't know, a party or something. So it's become a de facto nightclub. Obviously, they don't have a bar, but they do have an illegal dispensary next door, which they can go to. Whether they'll be there this Saturday, but it's something that just kind of gets kept in mind.
Yeah, I mean, Steve's here,
Well, so that, I just that's not approved for that.
they can't have that type of fun.
There's a lot of things that are not.
That's news to me, I was unaware of any partying going on.
Oh, it was, I mean,
It was pretty wild.
Do you want a cell phone, you just call them directly.
Yeah, no, I mean, there were like 3 law enforcement cars, flashing lights, and I don't think they got out. think it was one of those things like, we're not getting out to deal with this. This is so big.
Usually the police tell me about that stuff, so I'm fast.
I believe it was 2 Saturdays ago, it wasn't this past Saturday.
This Saturday there was more, it was again.
Oh, it was again.
Law enforcement's not coming in. You don't see them being paroled, it's like the D Street parking lot is avoided.
Yeah, that's a parking lot, it's not a, you can't just, party there.
Of course
That's
you
not
can.
that, that's not like so.
But it's, yeah,
Well,
well, in the summer, it has actually become.
Well, you're very lucky today because we have a,
Yeah, I'll
we
come.
have an older person here, a councilman and a code officer.
Yeah.
And the clerk is here too.
So I know there's things that kind of shifting in that area now, and the D Street park laws are great and stuff, I have no issues, and the Hardwick, I think it's wonderful, I think this is why I live in Center City. But sort of the kind of more rogue element of like, we're just gonna do what we wanna do. Anyway.
I don't think anybody's encouraging that, but thank you for bringing it to the attention.
Just
of the
to
city.
realize that as we add things, are we watching what's happening in that community, that area? Because it is a shifting period of time, kind of a realignment of Main Street to Beach Street. Almost like this is becoming Water Street. Is it Water Street, we're behind the bars? So there's actually a shift in the commercial activity away from Main Street into back streets. And so kind of keeping in mind of that, because that actually extends into residential. So,
Duly noted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. I would think this was much better than C-SPAN.